You ever move into a house thinking it's your fresh start, only to realize the house has other plans? Yeah, that was me. Daniel and I had just closed on our first real home. A little two-story in a quiet cul-de-sac, the kind of neighborhood where the mailboxes match and everyone waves even if they don't know you. I remember the first night. We sat cross-legged on the living room floor, pizza box between us, grinning like we'd made it. "This is it," Daniel said, raising his soda can like it was champagne. And I believed him. I wanted to believe that everything we'd been working for was finally settling into place. But houses? They keep secrets. 2 weeks in, I was in the upstairs hallway, scraping old wallpaper. The air smelled like dust and fresh paint, and I was humming to myself, lost in the rhythm, when my scraper caught something. A soft rip, then a hollow crinkle. I frowned, tugged at the wall, and a folded photo slid out from behind the plaster, like the house had coughed it up. At first I laughed. Who hides photos in walls? Maybe some old family memory left behind. But when I unfolded it, my stomach dropped. Daniel. My Daniel. Standing shoulder to shoulder with a woman I'd never seen before. She had auburn hair, bright smile, and her hand rested lightly on his chest. Intimate. Comfortable. The kind of photo you keep because it means something. I must have stared too long, because Daniel's voice startled me. "Nat? You okay?" I shoved the picture behind my back, heart pounding. "Yeah, just found something weird." He walked over, sweat on his forehead from hauling boxes, that easy smile of his tugging at his mouth. "Show me." So I did. The change in his face was instant. Smile gone, brows furrowed. He blinked at the photo, then at me. "What the hell?" He looked genuinely confused, but my chest tightened anyway. "Daniel," I whispered, my throat dry. "Who is she?" He shook his head, almost too quickly. "I don't know. I've never... Nat, I swear to you, I've never seen this picture before in my life." "Then why are you in it?" My voice cracked, louder than I intended. The words echoed off the empty walls. He opened his mouth, closed it again. Finally, "I don't know." He rubbed the back of his neck, a nervous tick I'd seen 100 times before. This has to be some kind of mistake. Mistake. Sure. Except my husband's face was right there, in full color, beside a stranger. We stood in silence, the weight of that photo pressing on us like a third person in the hallway. I wanted to believe him. God, I did. But a sliver of doubt lodged itself in my chest. Later that night, I couldn't sleep. I lay there listening to Daniel's steady breathing beside me, staring at the ceiling. My mind replayed the photo on loop, her hand on his chest, his smile, different, softer, like he'd shared a private joke with her. I whispered into the dark, more to myself than to him. What else is this house hiding? Now, listen. I ain't saying houses are haunted, but apparently 94% of people who hear stories like this don't hit subscribe. That's like walking into someone's kitchen, stealing a cookie, and leaving without even saying thank you. Don't be that person. Hit subscribe. It keeps the walls talking and the secrets spilling. Back to the mess. By morning, I'd convinced myself it had to be a one-off. Some random photo left behind. A prank, maybe. But deep down, the unease had already planted itself like roots under my skin. Because when your home coughs up a secret like that, you start wondering what else it's buried. And trust me, this was only the beginning. I kept telling myself the first photo was nothing. A leftover relic from the past. Maybe even a prank. But once you've seen your husband smiling with another woman, the image doesn't leave. It sits in the back of your mind, whispering. A few days later, I was upstairs, fixing a loose light switch in the bedroom. The plate popped off, and something fluttered down. A photo. My breath caught. Daniel again. The same woman. This time they were on a park bench. Her auburn hair shone in the sun, her head leaning against his shoulder like it belonged there. I sat on the bed, photo shaking in my hand. My pulse hammered in my ears. This wasn't a coincidence. This was deliberate. Nat? Daniel's voice floated up from downstairs. Coffee? Yeah, I called back, my voice too high, too thin. I slipped the photo into my pocket and pressed my hand against it like it might burn through the fabric. I didn't show him. Not yet. Because if I did, and he swore innocence again, what then? Did that make me paranoid? Or him a better liar? By the end of the week, I'd found 2 more photos. One under a loose hallway floorboard, another hidden in the back of a kitchen drawer. Same woman, same Daniel. Different settings. Each one carefully tucked away, waiting for me. One night, unable to take it anymore, I spread the photos across the kitchen counter. My chest ached as I studied them. Every smile, every touch. Daniel walked in, rubbing his neck. What are you doing up? I slid the photos toward him. Explain this. His brow creased as he picked them up. Nat? What the hell? I don't know this woman. I don't even remember these pictures being taken. I laughed, sharp and bitter. So multiple photos of you with the same woman just magically appear in our house, and you expect me to believe you've never seen her? Yes. His voice cracked, louder than I'd ever heard. He slammed the photos down. I don't know how else to say it. I've never seen her before. This isn't me. Daniel, it is you. My voice broke. Your face, your smile. He ran a hand through his hair, eyes flashing with frustration. How do I prove something I didn't do? Tell me, Nat. How? The desperation in his tone almost broke me. Almost. But those pictures lay between us like proof carved in stone. I shoved back my chair, its legs screeching across the tile. I don't know, but I can't ignore this anymore. We didn't share a bed that night. The next morning, Daniel acted like nothing had happened. He kissed my cheek before heading to school, his cologne trailing behind him. I stood at the door, frozen. Did he expect me to just move on? The silence in the house pressed in around me. Every creak of the floorboards felt like the house breathing secrets. I walked room to room, half expecting something else to fall into my lap. And it did. When I opened the drawer of the nightstand, I found a folded slip of paper. My stomach dropped before I even unfolded it. Written in neat cursive, "You'll never really know him." I sat on the edge of the bed, gripping the note, my hands trembling. This wasn't random. Someone wanted me to find these. Someone wanted to ruin us. By the 3rd week, the house didn't feel like ours anymore. It felt like I was living inside someone else's memory, someone who wanted me to choke on it. I couldn't stop thinking about that note. You'll never really know him. Those words ran through my head every time Daniel spoke, every time he smiled, every time he touched me. And the worst part? I started doubting myself. Was I losing it? Or was I finally seeing what had always been there? I needed answers. That's how I ended up talking to Marissa, our neighbor, over her white picket fence. She was trimming roses, her hair tucked neatly into a visor, every move deliberate like she was filming a gardening commercial. "Everything okay?" she asked, squinting at me. "You look tired." I forced a smile. "Just adjusting, I guess. New house, new routines." She tilted her head, eyes sharp despite her sugary tone. "Ah, yes, that house. It's got a history, you know." My heart skipped. "What do you mean?" Marissa leaned closer, lowering her voice like the street might be listening. "The previous owner, Evelyn, let's just say she went through some things. Messy relationship, strange habits. I heard she left in a hurry." I tried to sound casual. "Did she leave anything behind?" Marissa's smile tightened. Maybe. Houses carry energy, don't they? Then she went back to her roses, as if she hadn't just cracked open a door I desperately wanted to run through. I walked back inside, my pulse racing. Evelyn. The name stuck like a splinter. That night, Daniel and I imploded. We'd been circling each other all day. Me, quiet and tense. Him, defensive and frustrated. Finally, at dinner, I couldn't hold it in anymore. "Daniel," I said, dropping my fork. "I can't keep doing this. I need the truth. Who is she?" He slammed his glass down so hard water sloshed over the edge. "I don't know, Natalie. I don't know. How many times do I have to say it? Then why do the pictures keep showing up?" My voice cracked, tears stinging my eyes. "They're hidden everywhere, Daniel. Everywhere. This isn't just one mistake." He pressed his palms to his eyes, breathing hard. "Do you think I'd do this to us? To you? If I were cheating, don't you think there'd be easier ways to get caught than this circus?" I froze. His words echoed in my chest. He sounded sincere, desperate. But the evidence kept whispering louder. I whispered back, "Then how do I explain it?" He dropped his hands and looked at me, raw and hollow. "I don't know. And it's killing me that you don't believe me." The silence after that was worse than the yelling. You ever open your pantry and find something rotting in the back? Something you didn't even remember buying? That's what secrets are like. One shows up, and suddenly you're gagging on the smell of all the ones hiding behind it. And apparently, 95% of people listening to stories like this don't hit subscribe. Don't be that person who eats the chips but never brings dip. Hit subscribe. It keeps the drama hot and the walls whispering. Back to the mess. Later that night, I sat alone in the living room, scrolling through property records on my laptop. I found Evelyn Shaw's name tied to the deed just 3 months ago. She hadn't moved far, still lived in town. And that's when it hit me. Maybe the woman in the photos wasn't just some stranger. Maybe she was connected to Evelyn. Maybe this wasn't about Daniel at all. But if that was true, then someone was playing a game with me. And I was already 3 moves behind. The house had turned into a battlefield. Not with fists or slammed doors, but with silence. Heavy, punishing silence. Daniel and I barely spoke. When we did, it was clipped, sharp, like every word cut more than it healed. I'd find him sitting at the dining table, papers spread out like he was grading, but his pen never moved. He was pretending to be busy. I was pretending to be fine. But neither of us was fooling anyone. One night, I found myself back in the hallway where it all began. My fingers grazed the patched-up wall, half expecting another photo to slip out. Nothing. Just cool plaster. I almost laughed at myself until I remembered the note. "You'll never really know him." Those words pulsed louder every time I tried to look Daniel in the eye. The next morning, while he was at school, I tore the house apart. I pulled books from shelves, dumped out drawers, checked every loose corner of the floorboards. My hands were raw, my knees bruised from crawling across hardwood, but I didn't stop. I couldn't. By late afternoon, I found it. Inside the base of the nightstand drawer, taped flat, like it had been waiting for me, was another photo. Daniel, again. The same woman, again. This time, they stood on a porch. Our porch. Only it wasn't ours back then. The flower pots and old paint matched the pictures I'd seen of the house before we bought it. My throat closed. I sat there, clutching the photo so tightly it crumpled. That evening, Daniel walked in, exhaustion written across his face. He dropped his keys on the counter, then froze when he saw me sitting at the table, photo in hand. "Nat," he said carefully, like he was approaching a wild animal. "What now?" I slid it across to him. My voice was barely a whisper. "Explain this." He picked it up, stared for a long time. His face twisted. Anger, confusion, grief, all layered together. "I can't," he finally said. "I've never stood on that porch before we moved in. You know that." I slammed my hand on the table. "But you're in it. Your face, your body, your—" My voice broke, tears spilling hot and fast. "Do you think I'm stupid?" He pushed back from the table, chair scraping the floor. "No, God, no, Nat, I don't know what's happening. I don't know how these exist. And I don't know how to make you believe me." He buried his face in his hands, and for the first time, I saw him shake. Part of me wanted to comfort him, to put my arms around him and say I believed. But the photos sat between us, undeniable. And the note. Always the note. I whispered, more to myself than to him, "Maybe I'll never know you at all." He looked up at me, eyes red. "If you keep saying that, you're going to make it true." We didn't touch that night. We didn't even share the same room. Lying awake in the guest bedroom, I stared at the ceiling fan spinning above me. Each rotation felt like a countdown. How many more photos? How many more notes? How many more cracks before the whole marriage split open? I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe the man who'd held my hand at the closing table, who'd carried me over the threshold like we were in some cheesy rom-com. But with every photo I found, belief slipped further from my grip. And still, deep down, a small voice whispered something worse. What if this wasn't about him at all? By the time I found the fourth photo, I stopped pretending. This wasn't some quirky mystery. This was war. I stared at the newest one in my hands. Daniel again. Same woman, same too comfortable closeness. They were on the porch, the very same porch where I now sat every morning with coffee. Only this was years earlier, before the siding had been replaced, before we ever dreamed of buying this place. My chest felt like it was caving in. That night, I cornered Daniel in the kitchen. He was rinsing a plate, his movements too calm, like he was clinging to normalcy. "Daniel," I said, voice shaking, "look at this." I shoved the photo at him. He wiped his hands, took it, and his face went pale. "Nat," he whispered, then louder. "This isn't possible. I wasn't here. I never—" "Then how the hell are you in the picture?" My words cracked through the air. He slammed the plate down so hard it rattled in the sink. "I don't know. Damn it, Natalie, I don't know. But it's not me. It can't be." "You're right," I spat back. "It can't be. Except it is." The silence that followed was worse than the shouting. He looked at me with hollow eyes, like he was losing me inch by inch. Finally, he whispered, "I can't keep defending myself against something I didn't do." He pushed past me and walked out of the room, leaving me shaking, tears dripping onto the photo in my hand. You ever play poker and realize halfway through the game that the deck's stacked against you? That's betrayal for you, sitting there with your chips, thinking you've got a chance while someone's laughing because the outcome was fixed from the start. And apparently, 96% of people listening to stories like this don't hit subscribe. Don't be that person. Hit subscribe. It keeps the heartbreak real and the plot twists hotter than fresh coffee. Back to the mess. The next morning, I couldn't take it anymore. If the photos kept pointing backward, then maybe the answers were back there too. I grabbed my keys and drove across town to a little flower shop tucked between a diner and a laundromat. That's where I found her. Evelyn Shaw. She stood behind the counter, arranging lilies into a glass vase, her auburn hair streaked with new threads of gray. When she looked up, her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Can I help you?" she asked politely. I hesitated, pulse hammering. "I bought your old house." Her hand stilled on the vase. "Ah, so you're the new owners." "Yes," I said carefully. I was wondering if you left anything behind. Old photos, maybe? Her gaze lingered on me, sharp and unreadable. Then she gave a soft, almost mocking laugh. That house holds more than photos. The word sent a chill down my spine. Evelyn, I said slowly, do you know anything about pictures of my husband with another woman? Her smile tightened. Some things, Mrs. Reed, are better left buried in the walls. I froze. She turned back to her flowers, humming under her breath, dismissing me like I was just another customer asking about roses. When I walked out of that shop, I knew one thing for sure. This wasn't random. This wasn't a mistake. And Evelyn Shaw wasn't finished with me yet. Evelyn's words wouldn't leave me. Better left buried in the walls. They replayed in my mind on a loop, like a song I hated but couldn't stop humming. Even when I tried to focus on work, or fold laundry, or pretend life was normal, her voice was there, mocking me, daring me to dig deeper. So I did. The next morning, I drove to the library. The public records section was as quiet as a church on Monday, the smell of dust and old paper clinging to the air. I scrolled through databases, court filings, even yellowed newspaper clippings. Evelyn Shaw's name popped up over and over, like a stain that wouldn't wash out. The story that emerged wasn't just messy, it was tragic. Evelyn had been through a breakup that spiraled into obsession. There were reports of fights loud enough for the neighbors to call police. A restraining order filed, then dropped. Property disputes that dragged on for years. She'd even accused her ex of stealing her future, claiming he'd gone on to live the life she deserved. She hadn't moved far from the house, just a few miles across town. She couldn't let it go. But the detail that twisted my stomach? Evelyn's ex had remarried quickly after her, settling down, buying a home, starting fresh. From the language in the court notes, it wasn't just heartbreak, it was humiliation. And humiliation can turn into something darker. Back at home, I spread the documents across the kitchen table. When Daniel walked in, he stopped cold. "What is all this?" he asked, dropping his bag. I looked up, my eyes wild. Proof, Evelyn's past, the fights, the restraining order, the obsession. I shoved a paper toward him. "She's unstable, Daniel. This isn't random. She did this." He scanned the pages, then dropped them like they burned. "Nat, this doesn't prove she staged anything. It just proves she had a bad breakup." I snapped, my voice sharper than I meant. "No, Daniel. It proves she never got over it, and now she's using me as some twisted outlet." He pinched the bridge of his nose, exhaling hard. "So what? You think she planted these photos years ago, just waiting for someone else to move in?" "Yes!" I slammed my hand on the table, papers scattering. "She lived here, Daniel. She had access. Who else could have hidden them? Who else would want to tear us apart?" His eyes locked on mine. For a long moment, he didn't speak. I saw the war behind them, the need to believe me, tangled with exhaustion from defending himself. Finally, he whispered, "So what do we do?" I swallowed, my throat tight. We confront her, together. That night, the house felt heavier than ever. Every creak of the floorboards sounded like footsteps. Every shadow felt like Evelyn's fingerprints on the walls. Daniel sat on the couch, staring blankly at the TV, the volume so low it was just static noise. I sat beside him, not watching, not listening, just thinking. After a long silence, I asked softly, "Do you hate me for doubting you?" He didn't look at me. "I hate that you felt like you had to." The words gutted me. They carried more weight than yelling ever could. "I wanted to believe you," I whispered. But every time I found another photo, it was like the house was choosing sides. He rubbed his face with both hands. And it wasn't mine. I reached for him, hesitated, then pulled my hand back. The gap between us wasn't measured in inches on the couch. It was miles. Upstairs, I lay awake in the guest bedroom, staring at the ceiling fan. The blades cut through the silence, each rotation like a ticking clock. Tick, tick, tick. Time was running out. For us, for the truth, for whatever shred of trust we had left. And deep down, I knew. If I didn't face Evelyn soon, I wouldn't just lose Daniel. I'd lose myself. I couldn't wait any longer. The house felt like a trap. Every photo another blade pressing closer to the bone. If Evelyn wanted me to find her fingerprints, then fine. I'd shove them right back in her face. Daniel came with me. He didn't want to, but I think deep down he knew this was the only way we'd survive, together or not. The flower shop smelled of lilies and damp earth when we walked in. Evelyn was there, trimming stems with slow, deliberate snips, like she had all the time in the world. Her eyes flicked up. "Back again," she said smoothly. "Did you like the flowers in the house?" I slammed the stack of photos onto the counter. The sound made the vases tremble. "Enough games. Why?" For a second, she just looked at the photos. Then she smiled. Not the polite customer service kind, the real one, the unsettling one. "Because," she said softly, "you have the life I was supposed to have." Daniel stiffened beside me. "What the hell are you talking about? I don't even know you." Her gaze cut to him like he was nothing. "Not you. Her." She pointed at me. "I watched you move in. I saw the way you looked at her like she was your whole world. That's what I wanted. That's what he never gave me." Her words slithered into my chest. "So you staged this? You planted these pictures?" Evelyn tilted her head, eyes glittering with satisfaction. "I had years in that house, Natalie. Years to make sure the right couple would question everything they thought they knew. And it worked, didn't it? You doubted him. You still do." I felt Daniel's hand brush mine, tentative, almost pleading. "Why us?" I whispered. Her smile faltered for the first time. "Because you're me. Or you will be, when it all falls apart. And I wanted you to see what betrayal feels like before it destroys you." My stomach turned. This wasn't about Daniel at all. This was about her bitterness, her obsession, her need to watch someone else bleed the way she had. Daniel leaned forward, his voice steady. "You're sick." Evelyn laughed, low and hollow. "No, I'm just honest about what love really is. Rot dressed up as roses." She dropped the clippers onto the counter with a metallic clink. "You'll thank me one day." I grabbed Daniel's hand and pulled him toward the door. My chest was heaving, my skin cold. When we got back to the car, I collapsed into the seat, trembling. Daniel turned to me, his eyes softer than they'd been in weeks. "Nat," he said quietly, "do you believe me now?" I looked at him, really looked. At the man who carried boxes until his arms ached, who stayed up late grading papers, who kissed me goodbye every morning. And for the first time in weeks, I whispered, "Yes." That night, we sat together in the living room, photos spread across the table. They didn't hold power anymore. They were just scraps of paper, Evelyn's ghosts that no longer belonged in our house. Daniel touched my hand. "We can rebuild," he said, "but only if you trust me again." Tears blurred my vision, but I nodded. Because trust isn't about proof, it's about choice. And I chose him. So, what would you have done if you found photos like that in your own home? Would you have trusted your partner? Or the evidence staring you down? I'm curious. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what you would have done. And if this story pulled you in, don't forget to subscribe. More stories, more twists, and more lessons you won't see coming.